subscribe or whatever if you like. Let's see here. What's at the airport? Oh, what? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Especially when it's horrific.
Oh, who's shooting at me?
The work of organizations like the Center for Wrongful Convictions and the Innocence Project have uncovered hundreds of proven false confessions. In fact, in murder cases like Ms. Halbach's case, we know that false confessions are actually the most common cause of wrongful convictions.
Alright.
I just wanted to go over this real quick. Remember these rights to your
Motherfucker.
Just want to make sure.
If you believe that you're
That caught me off guard.
It's not enough to simply argue.
There has to be something good at this airport. Everyone be talking about it. Everyone be talking about it. Let's see here.
Client's innocence.
We want to talk today about the 3 errors that occur during police investigations that can cause false confessions to happen. The first one is the misclassification error. Officers making wrong assumptions about whether somebody is lying and therefore guilty. Police are trained to watch the ways in which people answer questions, to read their body language, to notice their...
Why am I always overweight?
This is what's referred to as behavioral analysis. And that all it takes is proper training for a police officer to turn into a human lie detector.
Be honest? Because we're gonna be able to tell when you're not being honest. I'm telling you that right now, so. Yeah.
This is a handout that is used by a company called John E. Reed and Associates. They developed the most widely
Always
used
overweight. This is ridiculous.
slide of characteristics that are supposed to be...
It like constantly drains your AP just from moving.
Let's look. It says slouch. Here's a screenshot of Brendan's interrogation. He was slouch. Hand over mouth or eyes. Sure enough. Rigid and immobile. And, you know, as for these verbal things, somebody who says, I don't know, must be lying. Let me tell you, if there's one thing that Brendan Dassey said hundreds of times during that interrogation is, I don't know. His ability to interact with other people is limited. But of course it feeds right into these false narratives that officers are trained in. Somebody who can't make eye contact, they must mean they're lying. They must mean they're guilty. This failing to look people in the eye, this withdrawing during social situations. If this is disability, and the student also is under classification. Then there's the coercion error. Once you get that wrong person in the interrogation room, how are they convinced to say something so dramatically against their self-interest?
That's probably why I'm overweight, because I always loot everything.
They will emerge from the interrogation sky high. But the goal of interrogation is to bring that confidence level down.
We pretty much know everything. We already know what happened. We already know what happened. We already know. We already know. We already know. We already know. We know. We know. We know you're back. We know what happened.
All evidence flawed. Telling the suspect over and over again. We already know. John E. Reed and Associates cautioned police officers deceptive tactics should not ordinarily be used with individuals who have significant mental limitations or the weak or social maturity.
You were there when she died.
What he means is Brendan. Yes, maybe something else. We have the evidence for it.
He says there's always evidence. What am I going to do? This is a serious problem. What am I going to do? That's an interrogation to give a suspect an out.
Do something to it. You're better than being in person, right? What made you do the work?
Did you want to participate in the rape, or did your uncle force you? The suggestion is if you accept the less heinous version, that you will be treated more leniently.
From what I understand, even if I throw those in,
We can work through that. Because the honest person,
That was a no scope shot.
honesty
That was sweet. That was super sweet.
Brendan here is a 16-year-old who functions at a much lower level than your average 16-year-old. So he actually thinks if I tell them what they want to hear, I'm going to go home.
you are doing the right thing. We need to hear from you. Let's get it all out today. This will be all over with. It's okay. What are we going to do?
Connor,
Where?
so
While getting an admission is powerful evidence, what they need to get a conviction is to have the suspect give the police officer the details of the crime that only the true perpetrator would know. Now, this is a real problem for an innocent person. How does that happen? Well, it happens through the third error, which is the contamination. Fact-finding. Johnny Reed and Associates tell those investigators that they should hold back some facts. Because if the suspect can give you those facts, then you have a pretty good idea that what the suspect is telling you is true.
What else happens to her?
These officers
Wow.
had the three critical facts that were not publicly released before Brendan's interrogation. Teresa Hallbeck was shot in the head. Her personal items were found in a burn barrel on the Avery.
I'm not finding anything good at this airport. There's supposed to be power armor here or something, I thought.
And did something with the engine.
Phalanges.
it's extremely
Or phalange.
analysis.
That's all good stuff for crafting, I guess. What's in there?
What else?
Give me money, give me money, give me money.
We know, we just need you to tell us.
Contamination occurs when investigators grow frustrated with an innocent person's inability to give them those facts.
That's all I'm telling you. Alright, I'm just gonna come out and ask you.
Who shot her in the head?
You did? Why didn't you tell us that? So I can take a look.
What?
Tell us about that then.
They wanted this information in the worst way.
They just told him what to say. That's crazy. Yo, if you haven't seen this Making a Murderer, you gotta watch it. Is anything up there?
Brendan has confessed. They've got what they think they need. They have that narrative, a horrific narrative. Note that he recants at the very first opportunity when he and his mother are alone.
What happened if he says the salt figure story is different? But he says he mistook Gwent.
What do you mean?
Like, if his stories are different, like, I never did that on my phone.
Did you? Huh?
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
They got to my head.
Huh?
They got to my head. This is Brendan's way of recanting.
What?
Note how he shuts up immediately when those interrogators rush back in.
They just played this special needs child. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Best interpreter of what Brendan meant by they got to my head. The only real interpreter was Brendan's mother.
Were you pressuring him?
Were you talking about? What do you mean pressuring?
I'm talking to him.
No, I'm telling you need to know the truth. We've been doing this job a long time, Barb, and we can tell when people are telling the truth.
I've already been here, I don't know.
We have now determined what occurred sometime between 3:45 p.m. And 10 or 11 p.m. on the 31st.
Had to give up on that agility training course. If you saw that video, I just could not do that.
Sweaty. Angle down the hallway.
There's nothing good at this airport.
Stephen Avery's bedroom. Find Teresa Halbach. Unclothed, completely naked.
Naked. What?
Both of her arms are shackled, both of her legs are shackled with leg irons. Teresa Halbach is begging Brendan for her life.
Once police officers get a confession, the job of police officers and of prosecutors does not end there. Investigators need to see if there's additional corroboration of the confession. They need to continue to investigate. They need to test whether that confession is reliable or not. And so do prosecutors.
After the sexual assault is completed, Stephen Avery tells Brendan what a good job he did.
Ken Kratz didn't do any of that. And part of the reason is because he held a press conference within 24 hours after Brendan confessed, in which he announced to the whole world that Brendan's confession was reliable.
New details laid out this afternoon left us all gasping and shaking our heads.
Prosecutors revealed disturbing new details today about how Teresa Halbach was raped and murdered.
We now know what happened to a 25-year-old Wisconsin woman who disappeared.
It takes a lot to shake the composure of a prosecutor, but it happened today as this man revealed new grisly details about how Teresa Halbach was killed.
They knew that she probably suffered, but they were not fully prepared to learn how she might have been tortured.
This confession had not even been ruled admissible by a court. So he's out there talking about it as if it's coming into evidence.
16-year-old Brendan, under the instruction of Stephen Avery, cuts Teresa Halbach's throat.
Oh, there's still enemies to clear from the airport.
Doesn't die. I thought that was one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen. Pre-trial, I thought that was just unbelievable. It was so much, they went so much further than most prosecutors. Most prosecutors would have said, you know, she was stabbed. Of course, there's no evidence that she was stabbed. Or she was shot in the head. But this, you know, prosecutor creates this fantasy about what's happened, and then that spreads.
This picture of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey makes more sense in hindsight.
You can see the connection between the eyes, and they obviously, without saying a word, know what each other is thinking.
Look at this photo of the two. Notice what's on TV.
There's additional information in the complaint as to additional torture, as to additional mutilation, as to additional mechanisms of death, which includes manual strangulation and gunshot wounds.
I can't think of a worse way to go. What he described at the press conference.
Get out of here.
I mean, that's a pretty gruesome picture to paint.
You know, I believed him at first, and now it's the other way around. You know, it's his friend coming out and saying all that stuff. I told him he did it now.
He violated every ethics that governs legal ethics and ethical rules prohibit a prosecutor from discussing the contents of a suspect's confession. The rules.
Whoa.
Ken Kratz just went way overboard here. And he had to know that what he was doing was wrong.
just a pawn, just a tool that was used by the investigators and the prosecution to frame Stephen Avery. He was another piece of the planted evidence. You know, we've got the blood planted in the car, we've got the key in the bedroom, and we've got Brendan Dassey because they planted this story in his brain and got him to agree with it. And that they could have survived through the court system in Wisconsin, I think, is shocking.
The seller called me and asked me to look over the case and find anomalies. And in this case, there are more than a handful of those. And that's unusual. One or two is expected. People collect, the documentation is perfect, that's understandable. But when there's a large number of these anomalies, these less than complete results which don't quite fit into what you expect, you want to look at those.
The blood in the car, there was no mixture of the victim's blood and Stephen Avery's blood.
If you follow the logic of, although it's horrible to say, putting the victim in the back while you're bleeding, and then getting in the car and driving, and the victim's blood is only in one spot, and the supposed assailant is always in another, you know that they've been in contact. So why isn't there a mixture? Why isn't it spread around? That's what you expect to see in something as violent as what was described. And that's really not what the DNA results from testing the specific areas tells us.
I believe that the prosecutor in Stephen Avery's trial had a strong suspicion the blood evidence was planted. All of Stephen's blood is in the front of the car. All of Teresa's blood is in the back of the car.
Meaning they probably murdered this girl and blamed him for it. They probably raped and murdered her. And then the cops probably fucked her, murdered her, and then was like, alright, fuck this dude, we gonna blame him. Fuck the police, man.
Needed to have another body fluid somewhere else on the vehicle. What would be really ideal would be if Brendan Dassey could talk about Stephen Avery touching or doing something else in the car that would leave DNA evidence.
What else did he do? He did something else. You need to tell us what he did. After that car was parked there. It's pretty important.
So you left the gun in the car?
That's not what I'm thinking about.
What?
Something in that car. Took the plates, he did, and I believe he did something else to that car. Did he go and look at the engine? Did he raise the hood at all or anything like that? Did he do something in that car?
Yeah.
What was that? What do you bring?
Yo, they tricked this boy straight up.
Let's leave you under the hood if that's what he did.
I don't know what he did, but I know you were under.
He did raise the hood. You remember that?
Yeah.
And voila! Suddenly, Brendan Dassey is talking about Stephen opening up the hood and touching the hood latch. No one swabs the hood latch initially. The hood latch isn't swabbed until after Dassey's confession. What's interesting is the crime lab did the blood swabbing in the car, but they did not do the swabbing of the hood latch. That was done in Calumet and taken to the crime lab. And magically, when they test it, it's got Stephen's profile on it. Wow, what a piece of luck that is. Now you're not dependent anymore just on that blood evidence. And kind of like Nancy Grace said, I mean, it's the sweat DNA that convinced me. You heard suggestion already, which will be evidence in this case, that the battery was disconnected on Ms. Halbach's vehicle. But importantly, in reaching up underneath the hood to open up Teresa Halbach's vehicle, Mr. Avery was kind enough to leave his DNA on the hood latch. DNA evidence, again, is not just from blood. It can be from skin cells, which are left through perspiration, sweat. Now, remember at trial they said it was sweat DNA that was on the
right. So
hood
that's
latch.
just
They locked into that.
That's just wishful thinking because you can't test for sweat. So the
Right.
answer is we don't know the source. That's the honest, correct answer.
Right. What about touch DNA, touching and opening it?
The amount of material you're going to get from handled objects is pretty low. Do it multiple times, you'll get more.
Right.
But Liz's results were quite interesting when you compare them with what they found in this case.
We were curious to see what sort of results we might get from having this hood open.
Dang, now I can't find the whatchamacallit that I need.
Volunteers each do it 5 times. We have 15 trials, and I sampled the latch each time. I only got a detectable signal from 4 of those 15, and those were very low quantities, like much less than even half a nanogram total.
It's a rich source of DNA, whatever is on that hood latch.
Right.
It's not touch DNA.
Blood and saliva, very common forensic sources. Lots of DNA. Lots and lots of DNA.
Okay, so as far as the idea that was blood on the hood latch.
That contains a swab from the hood latch of Teresa Halbach's RAV4?
Yes.
Do you recall when you looked at the swab, did you notice any condition to it as far as color?
It was colored, but it did not have the appearance. It was not a reddish brown coloration.
So it did not appear to have blood.
Correct.
In the Avery case, there are a number of DNA profiles that were obtained. It makes you wonder what was the source. It's pretty robust. It's full profile, but they didn't do body fluid identification. So where did it come from?
So what's the source, right?
What's the source of the DNA?
What's the source of the DNA?
In order to determine the source of the DNA, laboratories have 4 tests they can run. One for blood, one for saliva, one for semen, one for urine. Blood, that should show up. Semen isn't an issue on this. Urine doesn't count either. So you're left with one other test.
And it would be the
Sweat.
Of course. Our laboratory has developed a test for saliva that's very widely used.
Defeat the mole rat wave.
And able with that.
Dang, if I had knew it was only mole rats, I wouldn't have made so many darn
Well,
turns.
then you're starting to build a different story. Now you're building a story that Mr. Avery is spreading his saliva all over the place, or someone else is taking
He's
Mr.
licking head like
innocent explanation or a not so innocent explanation.
Right.
And in any event, it contradicts their original concept of how it got there.
It really profiles like a buccal swab of saliva, and it would be very improbable, I think, that you wouldn't have had a mixture. To me, it looks like a surface that was cleaned off with diluted bleach, and then the buccal swab planted the saliva, because you've just got Stephen on there. You don't have anybody else who ever opened up the car. And then, of course, there's a hood release inside the car. That's never swabbed for anything. The prop that holds the hood up, nobody ever swabs that. So see, that's all things the defense could have requested, but they didn't. So I don't know if they were talking to a forensic scientist, but a forensic scientist would have immediately told them that.
If his hand was there, why didn't you find fingerprints?
Well, they're looking for DNA. That's what I was looking for, and that's what they found.
So do you think they didn't look for
I
fingerprints?
don't know.
I would imagine this would be a pretty important thing to know. You're alleging that he drove this vehicle and hit it, I would imagine his fingerprints would be all over the thing.
Mm-hmm. No fingerprints? Where are the rest of these mole rats? I'm not gonna go looking for them.
You know, these DAs are just doing whatever they want to do.
You can't trust the police. You can't trust the police.
For anything and everything.
I didn't even do anything for that wave.
They're supposed to protect the family.
There's somebody shooting though.
They're not being accountable for their actions. And we gotta change it. This can't happen to somebody else. You should be in here. Where are you? Put him in here, I'll be out there.
Do the brain fingerprinting test, and that detects concealed information in your brain.
I learned about testing that many authorities think is superior to polygraph, which is brain fingerprinting.
How often have we heard these words from law enforcement officials? These are details known only to the perpetrators. The latest technology in forensic science uses those details to prove a suspect's guilt or innocence. Developed by Harvard-trained Dr. Lawrence Farwell, brain fingerprinting uses brainwaves to measure what Dr. Farwell calls the aha of recognition.
Farwell says that when the human brain recognizes important information, it triggers a specific electrical signal called a murmur that can be measured and analyzed.
I told Stephen, the CIA, the Navy,
How do I get in here?
I was using very sophisticated tests to detect if someone was telling the truth or not about being innocent, and would he do this help. Regardless of whether it would come into court or not, I convinced Stephen Avery that it was 100% reliable, and that if he flunked it, we would have a big problem. So I laid all this on him. So he very enthusiastically agreed to subject himself to this testing. He was thrilled that there was something like that we could use.
So let's go over some things that you know and some things that you couldn't possibly know if you really haven't done the crime. The Stephen Avery case was very challenging for brain fingerprinting. If we had gotten there on day one, the perpetrator would have known everything about the crime. An innocent suspect would know nothing about the crime. And we'd have a wealth of evidence that we could test. Stephen Avery has been through a long trial. He knows a tremendous amount about the crime from the trial. So we had to find information that was not presented at the trial, or even information where what they thought happened at the time of the trial was not accurate.
It is consistent with a bloody object such as a body being loaded into the rear end of this vehicle.
When we did the blood spatter analysis and realized that the prosecution had made a big mistake about the blood spatter on the rear cargo door, we used the blood spatter pattern, what it actually indicated, to test Stephen Avery's knowledge about that cargo door being open and where Teresa Halbach was positioned at that point. We wanted to know, was he storing that information of hitting her, knocking her to the ground, and then repeatedly hitting her in the head? Because if he was, he'd be the killer, because that's how the blood ended up on the rear inside cargo door.
Man, the cops killed this lady.
We have three different types of stimuli. Things we know he knows, things that are irrelevant, where we won't get the response, and then probes, where we'll get the response only if he knows it.
spent 2 days there. We did 13 hours of testing on Stephen.
When we analyze the data, we can make a mathematical determination. Yes, this information is stored in the brain, or no, the information is not stored in the brain. So you've got no response to the irrelevant things. You've got this big response you can see in the red line to the things you know. Now the question we're asking scientifically is, do you know those details about the crime that nobody ever told you, but the person who did it definitely knows? See this blue line? Now that blue line doesn't show that recognition response, does it? It looks just like the green line. It's basically a flat line. So what that means is, according to your brain, you don't know what happened when she was murdered. If you had been the perpetrator, this blue line would have, yeah, it would be just like the red line. It would have that big responsive. So this is very powerful evidence that the factor is in the crime.
I knew that already. Well, you knew that, because I didn't know that. But now I know it, and anybody who understands the science is going to know it as well. So what does that mean to you? It's good news.
Stephen has all the hallmarks of someone who's innocent. How cooperative he is. The lengths that he wants us to go to. There's nothing about him that I think is indicative of someone who's guilty. I bet my life on Stephen Avery being innocent. I'm positive he's innocent. The question is, can we prove it?